Welcome back to the Dargo Show. Today we're going to be back in Battlefield 6 again. This time going a little more in depth on the classes and some of the features of the game versus the gameplay last time. Also, the community update just came out a couple days ago as well, giving us a little more detail into what DICE got out of all the playtesting and what they're planning on doing in the future with the game. So we'll cover that too. So to start off, I want to talk about the community update, the open beta debrief. This is essentially DICE going through and giving us an update on how the beta went, what they expected to change, and how the game was received overall. Pretty crazy statistics here. Most players in Battlefield beta history by probably a long shot. 420 million matches played, 92 million hours of gameplay over, I believe, 8 days, nearly 5 million kills. But the important stuff is what they're going to change, what they learned. Starting off with the weapons, obviously, like I said in previous video, the weapon balance is pretty rough. The M4 outclasses everything by far, and there's not really a point to using any other gun yet. They clearly noticed that and are going to make tap firing and just burst in general more effective and more intentional. You should be burst firing your gun over just full autoing everywhere. And they also noticed that the shotgun in the game a little broken. And obviously they are going to be adjusting time to kill, time to death experiences as the game goes forward. It's good to see that they realize that their weapon system not quite perfect. When on the movement, they knew immediately that the movement was going to be too COD-like, way too easy to move around really quickly, doing slide jumps, and just kind of COD-style movement. Not really a traditional Battlefield in that sense, so they're going to tone that down a bit, go back to the roots. Another small thing that was kind of funny to watch, the parachute physics acted more like the wingsuits from Battlefield 2042. So on certain maps, you could clear a ridiculous amount of distance because it had super high initial velocity, and then you can just coast the rest of the way in. So, glad they're fixing that, because that was kind of funny to watch. Definitely not a normal parachute animation. Another big thing, maps. There was a lot of issues with players being able to go out of bounds and get on rooftops that definitely were not available. So they're going to adjust all that, make sure there's proper intended boundaries this time, so there's a, fair chance that everyone can go everywhere. Another big discussion, a lot of people noticed that there weren't that many big maps. They were almost entirely infantry based, with one map having tanks and one only having all the vehicles, but that was it. The other three were just all tiny little maps, which is not really the Battlefield experience in most people's eyes. And they did say we're not getting the full 12 maps on release now. It's going to be 8, so they're going to give us Mirak Valley, another remake of Operation Firestorm, of course, and another one that hasn't been disclosed yet, but supposedly will be bigger than the ones they have now. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more vehicle gameplay, so we didn't get a ton of that in the beta. Another thing that was a little disappointing in the beta was the different modes. Obviously Conquest is the traditional Battlefield mode. People are going to be playing that probably the most, but a lot of us enjoy their newer game modes like Rush and Breakthrough. Those really didn't feel like past Battlefields. They definitely had some issues with where the spawn points were and how you had to push up into these objectives. They just really were not well done. Definitely defender heavy and made it pretty unenjoyable to play on offense, but they realized that and they're going to try to tweak that to make sure it actually makes more sense. Another quick thing on player counts. With Breakthrough and Rush, they'll probably adjust the player counts potentially to see if that makes the gameplay a little better, as well as changing, the spawn points and that kind of thing, just to give it a better feel. And same with Team Deathmatch, Squad Deathmatch, Domination. They'll probably start at a certain amount, but they might tweak that based off how it plays. And lastly, they'll have a variety of playlist options, like they did in the open beta that they'll cycle through. Although it doesn't look like they have a server browser that they mentioned, which is kind of unfortunate. It makes it a little tough if you're wanting to play in a certain region or just play a certain specific server that only does certain maps. I hope they implement that. That was great in Battlefield 4 and in Battlefield 1 and 5, so we'll see. Let's move on to classes. So we are going back to a traditional 4-class system with Assault, Recon, Support, and Engineer, just like the old Battlefield games. Great to see that return. That's what everyone was asking for, and they gave it to us. They're a little bit different in this, but not too much, and I think they did the tweaks in a good way, so let me show you. Starting off with the Assault class. This class is interesting, so they've added another gun to the class. You actually start with 3 guns in this class now, and you can have a variety of guns in it. You can do a carbine, an AK, you can have a shotgun, and then you have your pistol as your technical secondary. And the way this differs from older Battlefields is the classes just have more diversity to them. Obviously you have your field specs, which is like the traditional Battlefield sense, where you have like a combat medic and then a support medic. So I believe they'll do the same with these, where you'll have the 2 different classes. But within that class, this one, signature gadget, adrenaline injector, basically makes your self-heal quicker. Your assault rifle, perk, draw faster, switch items faster, and better recovery speed. And then soft landing, you just take less speed penalty after falling. So this is just a run and gun class, go as fast as you can and get all the kills. You do get 2 choices of explosive launchers as well. These are your field specs. Now these there might be multiple variants of, not sure yet, but essentially it allows you to get more perks the better you do throughout the game. So level 0, you get this by default, negates movement speed penalty when aiming down sights. Level 1, gain an additional charge with the adrenaline ejector, so you can just go further and further for longer. 2, improved passive health regeneration stats, 50% rate and 50% less delay is pretty nice. And then for the final one, you actually get an ability that you can use by pressing 6 to highlight enemy sounds and reveal nearby enemies. Extends 5 seconds with kills. So you can go absolutely crazy and essentially never die as long as you keep these going, which is pretty cool. It does sound a little broken in practice. It actually works out pretty well. I didn't find it to be extremely unbalanced and still needed my medics to heal me occasionally and revive me, of course. Support medic gets supply bag that resupplies infantry of all gadgets and regenerates health more efficiency. You get the defib. There's not that many things in here yet in the beta, and then as a secondary, you also get deployable cover. All this is possibly subject to change. They did say they're going to tweak the classes, so I'm just going to cruise through them since these might not be what the final outcome is. Recon's pretty classic. Motion sensor, smoke, breach charges, C4 charges, and then of course deployable beacon. So they're not super different, but I'm thinking that they'll tweak all these a little bit to make them more balanced. Right now they do feel pretty good, but I want to see what other options we're going to get as far as class diversity goes in each different class. Engineer is the classic Battlefield 4 engineer as far as we know. Repair tool, you take less damage from explosives. Classic RPG, then surface to air. We'll definitely get more stuff from here, but this is the demolition class through and through. Get motion sensor mines, grenades. I think the biggest change they made to the gun system is every class can use every gun. There's no limitations as far as that goes. So recon is not locked in to only the sniper rifles. Any class can use a sniper rifle now. And I think that makes them more versatile. It's going to be harder to balance, but I'll definitely be curious to see how it plays out. So far, it seemed like it worked out okay. And taking a look at the guns, we've got a lot of classics. The M4, AKs, the M417, of course, the MP7, and the LA110. The gun selection was pretty small in the beta, but it was an okay selection for what it was. All the guns felt pretty good, besides being a little bit weirdly balanced. Another new feature they're adding is a points-based upgrade system to each of the guns. So when you go in to customize them, now each one of the attachments has a point value attached to it, and you have a max point value of 100 for each gun. And the better the attachment gets in each one of its categories, the more expensive it's going to be. So once they figure out all the recoil balancing and stuff, I think this is going to be pretty critical in how you build the gun. It's going to be hard for the devs to balance each gun, but it also means that each gun has the potential to be viable in every scenario, as you can put big sights on them, shorten the barrel up, make them like PDWs. You can change the ammo type even, which is pretty cool. So that gives them a bit more versatility in that department. Personally, I'd love to see the devs actually add guns that have 300 blackout and give them that option to have that ammo type. Not a lot of games actually do that, so it'd be cool if they add that attention to detail. We only got one pistol in the game currently, but it does come with attachment types too and different ammo types. That is good to see. In previous games, you couldn't do a whole lot with your pistols. There were a few challenges you could do in the open beta to get a few customized skins that were specific to that, which is kind of cool. And then just a quick rundown of the menus. They look alright. I wouldn't say they're anything incredible. They're pretty similar to how 2042 was laid out. So we're about to hop into a game of Breakthrough, just so I can show you guys how difficult it is on some of the objectives to even get past the first two. Traditionally with Breakthrough and Rush, the game modes generally played pretty well on the first objectives, and the last two were the hardest to get, which makes sense. If you got all the way there, you're obviously doing pretty good, so the last one should be the hardest. It is completely flipped on a lot of these now, which is pretty unfortunate. We are on Liberation Peak, probably one of my least favorite maps in the beta. It's not very well laid out and is very unbalanced, as you'll see. Currently, there are 81 enemy tickets left, and we are just crushing them on these first objectives. Like I was saying, it's so defender heavy, it's crazy. But I get to showcase the movement a little bit in this case, the being able to lay down on your back and then you can move like that too. They'll probably nerf some of this a little bit in the actual game, but it did feel pretty good in the beta. And none of them dead. We can get a map overview. As you guys can see, pretty open for the attackers, really hard to push up on these first two objectives, and it pretty much makes a stalemate. Defenders, every time I played Breakthrough, won on these first two objectives, so it was pretty boring overall. Another kind of inherent flaw of Liberation, that cliffside. That cliffside along the whole map is just open and exposed in a sniper heaven. So it is really annoying to push up onto these objectives specifically if you're attacking, because you basically get this little alleyway, and that's about it. You just get funneled, and as you can see, I mean, they're already down to 30 tickets just getting destroyed. So these game modes definitely need some work and some balancing to be fun. In previous games, Rush and Breakthrough took parts on different parts of the map than Conquest did, and that's not the case in this game. Overall though, I enjoyed my time with the game. I think it has good core gameplay. It just needs a lot of little tweaks to make it a proper Battlefield game and just a good game in general. I think DICE is totally capable of doing it. They make it sound like they are really trying hard to listen to the community. They're doing Battlefield Labs, which is really cool, so they have actual content creators and game testers come in and play the game pretty often, so they get feedback all the time on how the game is. So maybe we'll have a good launch. We'll have to see. But that's going to do it for this video. I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.